What are the most important steps we can take to protect ourselves from all forms of wireless?
So I have a little protocol which I call the OM, which is born out of my own experience with EMFs. And this is actually an acronym for U for understand, M for measure, and M for mitigate. So the first thing is just to understand the thing. And if you're watching this today and you've got this far in the conversation, then you're perhaps beginning to understand that it is a complex subject, that there is something to this, that particularly if you've got children, then you should prick up your ears, particularly, and start taking action. And particularly if you're health conscious, then honestly, it's laughable how much money and time and energy people put into looking good and working out and staying fit and then eating the right foods and putting really expensive creams on their skin. But when we know what EMFs do to us, when we know what this microwave radio frequency radiation does to us, this premature aging effect, because that is very clearly one of the effects of this work that Dr. Martin Paul did of these voltage gated calcium channels on the cell membrane lets in too much calcium, and it's premature aging. Quite simply, we can call it premature aging. Professor Magda Havas, who's done a lot of research on this, calls it rapid aging syndrome. So yeah, it is. So the protocol is to firstly understand, because if you don't understand just how all pervasive these exposures are, just how bad news they are really to yourself, your family, your kids, particularly your elders, and the three categories of population, by the way, which are particularly affected, which the science tells us it's children, the elderly, and pregnant women. And so understand, that's the motivation to do something. The second thing is to measure. And you can measure with an EMF meter, and I have one here. Something like this. It doesn't have to be this one. This is an EMF meter. It measures a 3, and we just switch it on, and it measures magnetic fields there, and electric fields there, and radio frequency radiation there. And it's not like I'm saying this is the best meter. It's really easy. You saw how it was. You turn the dial. And it's relatively inexpensive. It costs under $200, and I know for some people that's a lot of money, but for others it's not. And at some point, that's the way to go, is to get yourself a meter, because you need to measure. If you don't measure, you're in the dark. You're clueless. You don't know what EMFs your car is giving off. You don't know what the EMFs are in your bedroom. You don't know what the EMFs are in your kids' bedrooms. So that's why it's very important to measure. And the third M of the is to mitigate. And the 3 ways to mitigate. First way is turn the darn thing off. Whatever it is causing that EMF, turn it off. If you can turn it off, turn it off. Sometimes you can't, because it's not yours to turn off. Or it's maybe your refrigerator, and all your food's going to go off if you turn it off. So if you can't turn it off, you increase the distance between you and the device, increase the distance between you and the cell phone, for instance. And then if you can't increase the distance, then last but not least, we shield. And shielding is always a last resort, but there are means of shielding whole homes, shielding bedrooms, shielding cars. It's possible. And that's one of the reasons I believe that the Teslas are, in terms of magnetic fields, not that I've ever tested one, not that I own one, is because they're well shielded. So shielding can be effective, but shielding brings its own problems. And it's certainly, my view of dealing with this whole EMF question is a big part of the solution is simply reconnecting with nature. And when you introduce shielding, this is introducing also other man-made materials into your environment, which is not necessarily the way to go. So it's kind of working out which is the lesser of two evils with regard to that. But that is quite simply the way to deal with any EMF exposure, is this
how do you create a sleeping sanctuary in your bedroom? Can a cell phone be in the room if it's on wireless?
So I think the first question is, why would you want to create a sleeping sanctuary in your bedroom? And the reason you want to do that is because it's when you sleep, quite simply, it's when your body heals. And there's a whole load of cellular processes which is going on: cellular regeneration, rejuvenation, detoxification, hormonal processes, secretion of melatonin, as I mentioned before. And we know that these EMFs, these different types of EMFs, all these EMFs impact this healing process, downgrade this healing process. And it's super important for your long-term health. And I really do believe, and I'm not saying you should do this, but if you kind of get the bedroom thing sorted out, then you can withstand more cell phone use. So it is really a key part of dealing with EMFs, is what you do is creating this sanctuary, this low EMF sanctuary. And one of the keys to doing that is having like a meter to take measurements, but you want a meter which measures all kinds of EMFs. That only measures the three kinds, which is the electric field, magnetic field, radio frequency, radiation. And then you need another meter to measure the dirty electricity. And the rule is ALAR, as low as reasonably achievable. That's what we're going, because the thing is with EMFs, there's no safe. There's nothing, there's no like black and white. You're good to go. No, that's dangerous. There's nothing at all black and white about this, because this is all impacting us at a very subtle level. But don't confuse subtle with unimportant. It is important, and that's what the studies are showing very clearly, that these effects are important, and there are clear associations again with disease. So creating this low EMF sanctuary is fundamental, and you can do that with a meter by taking readings. And I have a protocol for that. You would take readings of all four categories, and I recommend being a little bit scientific, using like a checklist, noting it down. Monday, do morning, noon, evening, take the exposures for each of the four categories. And you want to be measuring where you lay in that bedroom, where you put your head particularly. And that is the beginning. And once you've got those readings, you take them over a week, take readings every other day, write it all down, different times. You're trying to figure out, because there might be times where, certain readings spike. And believe me, you will be surprised, because even if you've got nothing in your room, even if you've got nothing wireless, and yes, to answer your question, you should not keep a cell phone anywhere near your bedroom. And even if you've got none of that, then you will be sleeping almost certainly in an electric field. So you go to bed, you've got everything switched off, total darkness, you will be sleeping in an electric field. Why? Because I would wager money that you have got a light switch or you've got a lamp right next to where you sleep, and therefore you have an electric field. Electric fields are present whether the current flows or not. When you switch the light on, you get a magnetic field. You switch the light off, the electric field is there all the time. So you are bathing in an electric field all night. You think that's good?